we have Tigre using Nature Link Sprite, Diesel using Mog Sprite. Um, so the big question, of course, for this tournament is, the changes that happen in your opening routing based on the weapon that Uncle gives you. So what are you hoping to see? What do you think we might see here?
Well, I know what I'm always hoping to see is the bow early, because the bow makes going into Eastern a lot more attractive. And we just said it's a crystal. All 3 crystals in Light World, none for 5 and 6. But getting an early bow would definitely send me over there very early.
Yeah, and that's kind of standard routing, I think, in this. Early bow sends you over there. Early hammer, you get a likely early Dark World access. And then everyone curses early bombs or early Keen of Burden. So we'll see Fire Rod. Okay.
Alright, Fire Rod isn't bad. That does open up the back half of Skull Woods. We do need the sword to actually complete that dungeon, but it's always good to keep that in mind. And that is a fire source, which is very important.
The fire source is important. It's going to make farming a little bit difficult here. When you go through the escape sequence, you want to kill some enemies in order to farm up bombs, but with the Fire Rod, you only really have 8 shots with it. So it minimizes your ability to be able to farm up bombs and maybe be able to get that back end of escape bombable wall. So we'll see what strategies these guys use to try to farm. We'll probably see some pot strats here and there. How liberally they use that Fire Rod to kill some enemies and farm things up.
Yeah, there are some magic pots in the back half of Escape, and in the sewer section, there's actually a lot of points where enemies will group up, and if you use the Fire Rod, sometimes you... there's bombs, so never mind the farming part. But there are groups of enemies you can use to get multiple kills with one shot, which is helpful, but we don't have to worry about that now.
Yeah, that everything that's a problem with the Fire Rod just got answered with those bombs. You don't have to worry about farming anything. Things die pretty quickly. Even the Ball and Chain Guard dies in one shot to the Fire Rod. So this is going to be a relatively quick escape sequence right now for both these runners.
Yeah, all you gotta do is point and shoot. It's very, very simple. May opt to still, along the way, kill the enemies like the snakes, maybe the groups of rats, just because money is still very helpful. So we do need at least 100 of that for Kakariko, the bottle vendor. Maybe we need to buy some more bombs along the way, so we will see.
Yeah, they can get at least everything that they need through most of Kakariko right now with the bombs that they ended up acquiring, which is very helpful. We'll see what else they end up finding here. Nothing really pointing in any single direction as of yet, but not surprising as of right now. 2 bomb capacity upgrades in Escape, though. That's underwhelming.
Yeah, that's a good word for those. They're pretty useless.
I mean, I don't want to call them useless because it's nice to have more than 10 bombs whenever you're going somewhere. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more useful than a bomb upgrade. A sword would be on my list. I'm never happy to see a bomb upgrade, really. It's very rare. Maybe if I'm going through Kakariko and I'm almost capped out on bombs or whatever. Or maybe I find some after I bought some, I get extra value that way. But other than that, I just did.
Well, I mean, okay, so they get back to the top floor right about the same time, about 3:45, so they're making reasonable work through this escape sequence. Diesel kind of dancing around these guards. Mog's a dancer, so yeah, that makes sense. He was dancing around guards, right?
Yeah. Since taking damage, you gotta protect that health. It's very precious.
Well, I mean, early part of Escape, your health very much is, because you're only with 3 hearts. Taking any damage could get really deadly very, very quickly. So I can understand that kind of dancing around there.
Yeah, there's a heart up here, but you might be forced to take damage just walking through snakes and stuff. So, I mean, being careful is never a bad idea.
LTigre dodging his way, doing his best Indiana Jones impression. He hates snakes.
They were really nice. They left a nice, clean path through there. sometimes the snakes are tricks, as SDiezal is showing us.
I mean, it can't be identical every time.
No, it can't. I just gotta find the key right here.
Yep, it's pretty consistently always going to be in, if not the same spot, it'll start in the same spot, so you can deduce pretty quickly where it's going to be. Tigre opening it up. We'll see what we have in these back. We have arrows.
Mystery item. The map, of
Map,
course.
okay. So that was what I was wondering, because we hadn't seen the map yet to see if we could just go ahead and escape this last chest in the sanctuary location, but no going.
Nope, not going. I usually, even if I know that's the map, I'll open it anyway just for the peace of mind. Because you don't want to save and quit and be like, okay, well, that's the map. That can't be the thing I'm looking for. And then, the one time you do that, you actually made a mistake, and it is the thing you're looking for. Anyway, coming out here, about 6 minutes. Pretty good time for escape. Ooh.
This might be a little bit of a fast seed. I have right here next to Bonk Rocks, too. This is going to be a nice quick check. We'll see with early boots. Would you go ahead and check what's on that lumberjack ledge? Just because of the possibility of what's going to be there.
Yes.
Power glove.
Well, that was a quick item chain. Not a lot of links in that one. But yeah, I mean, I find it very hard to skip the lumberjack ledge item just because the information's so helpful. Because if it looks like ag is going to be required, knowing if the lumberjack item is required or not can definitely speed up that decision. Whereas if you don't know or just don't feel like it, you might put it off for a while. It's the bug net, so
Yep, worthless. The hoarder crab is hoarding a bunch of fairies, though. I mean, what?
I don't know. I guess he's a popular crab. And how dare you call the bug net useless? How dare you?
Well, okay, it's not useless. It has a slightly higher usefulness than a bomb capacity upgrade. How about that?
Thank you. I'll accept it. Right. Big 20 at the mushroom spot. Not a bad. Ooh, another one in the thieves' hut. That's not bad. You want those right around now.
Yeah, now we're looking at being able to go ahead and do and be able to afford the bottle vendor once we get to that point. We were looking pretty poor. No rupees from the entirety of Escape, so nice to be able to get those now.
Yeah, we skipped killing a lot of enemies too, which could have given us some extra money just because we found those bombs. Speaking of those bombs, we're about to make another good use of them here in the Blind's Hut.
And there's the golden gloves, Titan's mitts, and the bow.
Okay, then.
I mean, here's the problem. We're getting a lot of access to a lot of things very quickly. I don't know if I want this.
Yeah, I know how you feel. When you get early Dark World access, especially through the mitts, that sort of like knocks you off your rhythm sometimes because there's so many locations you can go to. It's really hard to know what the right play is or what the best play is from your perspective. We do need the Moon Pearl before the mitts really matter to us, but once we do find that.
And these guys are hoping I don't remember exactly how many rupees. I think we'll be all right, but we may have to end up purchasing some bombs here. Depending, yeah, where... Oh, there's 50. Okay.
That's basically a tin bomb, that 50 rupees. So we are going to need them.
Bailed out there. Our first heart container, which is nice to see. Both runners putting good work in with this these boots, and we get an early flute. What is this?
Oh boy. Well, we're getting all the mobility. Ooh, SDiezal, very wise, knowing there's some bombs. I believe that one might be guaranteed. And then you can use this one to open up the shed here and get even more bombs.
Yeah, so he's gonna save the rupees and farm up the bombs. Rupees have been a little bit poor up to this point in time, so I can understand the play. We're gonna have maximum movement access though here directly. My goodness. And LTigre frames. Ow.
I'll just assume that's useless and that his stream can't be bothered to draw useless items.
That's fair. Meanwhile, we have the an early unlocking of our wonderful duck. So we'll be able to kind of fly around wherever we need to. It's going to make fewer saves and quits, just because we have access to pretty well everything. That also kind of gives us some interesting access up to Death Mountain if we so need. We really don't have a mirror or a hook shot to maximize our options up there, but something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that is in logic. Now, something else that really comes to mind, which also we can't really access right now, but when I see flute and mitts this early, it really puts the mire area into my mind. So once we find the moon pearl, maybe the mirror, I think that's very important, or could be.
Feels like it could be important, absolutely. The mire area, until we get the moon pearl, we would need at least one other thing. There's the Quake Medallion in the South Dam area. However, if we get the mirror, that does open up the wonderfully horribilistic, trolltastic checkerboard cave, which can contain the moon pearl.
Yeah, it certainly can. It also would give us access to desert, which we can, if we could get in there, we could complete it right now. It's because we have the boots, we have the fire source, we have the glove. All right.
Things have slowed down a little bit. No items in the South Dam area, but we're getting ready to. LTigre is going to dive into the sometimes lucrative, always entertaining mini Muldorm cave.
Yeah, this is a pretty easy cave when you have the bow. You can align yourself vertically with them and just shoot them, and one arrow does it. You can also use bombs, as LTigre is demonstrating.
I like bomb strats because when you can nail it just right, it makes it super efficient. LTigre finding love, 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 love. Is this a Beatles song?
Yes, that is the thing. But early hearts, I don't really hate seeing those. Ooh, hello, Ice Rod on the desert ledge. But the early hearts, especially when we've got mitts, and all you're really missing for Dark World access is the Moon Pearl. The more hearts, the better, I say.
So that ice rod on Desert Ledge, when we're really only a mirror away from access to that I'm calling Pendant Turtle Rock right now, which means that's the last thing that they really want to see.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate. Ooh, finding the blue mail in the Ice Red Cave, so very thematic. But yeah, I also would not be surprised. We do have 3 crystals in Light World, so 3 of our Dark World dungeons are going to be pendants. Turok being one of them, not going to surprise me. Also not going to surprise me when that has maybe our Go mode. Something in there, it's going to be in there.
Tigre looks like he's setting up a fake flipper. This is kind of interesting. Fake flippering, you can get access to Hobo, and then you can check to see what's on the Desert Ledge right now, or on the Zora Ledge, I'm sorry. You can also do not much, check that island spot, but I really feel this is kind of an underwhelming play because you don't have the Moon Pearl, so you can't do the Waterfall Fairy. And you don't have the rupees for Zora either.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Usually you want to save for at least one of those things. I mean, if you can check Zora area and you just skip the Waterfall of Wishing, that's okay. Sometimes you can route that in with Catfish with the mirror. But that might also be why LTigre is doing this. Ooh, getting $300 from the hobo. Why are you under the bridge, buddy? Get yourself a hotel room. just because I think SDiezal will also be a little hesitant to do that. And maybe if that's something important, it gives him an early advantage. But just give him some money now.
Oh, so Tigre is actually making a very interesting check. Looks like he's coming over here to King's Tomb, which isn't logic. Early boots, early Titan's mitts. This could be a breadcrumb that we're looking for right now. Nope.
But that is a good point. That's something to keep in mind. You want to be very conscious of what mitts unlocks when you get it, just because, at least in my experience, mitts, once you get it, it does point you to something like required somewhere where it unlocks. So I think that's very, very heads-up play by LTigre.
It looks like they're converging over here into the eastern area. They both can really easily complete it. I know some of the areas are darkroom locked, and until you get the lamp, it's technically out of logic, but both these winners are completely capable of doing these darkrooms. So would not be surprised to see these guys go ahead and knock this out right now.
Yeah, that's just the power of finding the boat early, especially when this is required. It feels so good to come up here because there's not really a better time to do this. Like, sure, you can get the mirror, and you can like route that in with pod too, but who knows when that's going to happen. Our green pennant is Ice Palace.
Yeah, that's something Diesel did there that you don't see a whole lot anymore. It was big in Key Sanity when you didn't know what were crystals or pendants, but talking to Sahasrara will tell you which one is the green pendant. Also, when you're in the Dark World, if you go over and talk to the bomb vendor, he will tell you which crystals are the 5 and 6 ones. You're already in the Dark World, so just press X normally, but it's an option.
It is an option, yeah. It's good to keep in mind, especially in Key Sanity, like you said, because you don't actually have that information until you find the map for your respective dungeons. So much more important there. Getting that information now, it doesn't really help SDiezal a whole lot, but it might help him organize his plan of attack for the seed just by knowing what he's up against here shortly. And I mean, Sahasrara, he lives alone. He's probably getting lonely, so just a real humanitarian move as well.
I mean, but really, if you live by yourself in the middle of ancient ruins, I think you bring that on yourself. There's the mirror. So that's nice.
That is nice. We were just talking about that a little bit ago. That's feeling really tempting right now to me. Obviously, you have to complete Eastern first, but after that...
Yeah, that Meyer check just would be an amazing check right now. Checkerboard is just screaming at me.
Yeah, or even Desert. I mean, Desert is another crystal that we complete, so we might be getting 2 before even 30 minutes at this rate.
I mean, that's nice. That's absolutely something you wanted to be able to do. This seed is just so far being very friendly to them. I worry when the other shoe is going to drop, though, and we're searching forever for, say, the hook shot or something.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's always really suspicious when V29 seeds are generous up front, because there's going to be a catch at some point. It's not clear what it is. Maybe it's not even required items. Maybe it's just a sword. You're looking for your second sword forever, and you don't know where that is.
I mean, keep in mind, they are without a sword right now, and navigating these dark rooms can be tricky without something to help guide you a little bit. Most people hold the sword out so they can kind of follow the sparkle. I've seen people create a block with the Keen of Samaria so that they can effectively hold the block over their heads. LTigre finding, in the meantime, though, a sword past a dark room.
All right, well, that's nice. It would have been nice to get that a little bit earlier, but we're not going to complain now. It's going to help a little bit in this dark room up here. We do have the fire rod, and there are torches in here, so we could use that if we really wanted to. But I mean, swords are nice.
If you are LTigre, do you take some time and go ahead and farm up some rupees over here in the? Well, I guess you don't. but you're at 484 rupees. You just grab a handful, just like, okay, I'm over the 500, so I can do what I need to do for Zora now.
I feel like that's yeah, I think I would do that, but at the same time we don't have the any like light source to make that a little bit easier, I guess. So I can understand why you wouldn't want to do that. I mean, we'll probably find money for Zora somewhere up here anyway. There's $1.
And he's not even picking them up. Tigre is not even thinking Zora money right now.
Does have quite a bit to do still, so.
And look at these shotgun strats. Very nicely done. And a vanilla heart container. And our first crystal at just over 20 minutes. Really, this is being very nice to us right at the moment.
Yeah, and we'll have another one under our belt before too long, assuming that's where LTigre is going to be headed. Always feels good to get those early crystals. Really feel like you're making good progress. Oh, coming up here to Death Mountain instead. I guess that sword also means we can complete Hera. Technically that's not in logic, but that's not really that big of a deal either.
I think Hera is in logic because we got the mirror in the pre-dark room area of Eastern, so I think Hera is in logic.
Yeah, everything but Moldorm is in logic, but Moldorm itself wouldn't be because we need that to kill him, which I guess is just
not
that
the
important.
sword. Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, this does give us a save and quit spot for later. Ooh.
Double dead rocked, and those cabbages are just having their time of the life. Man.
Combo attack. Yeah, but this does give us the save and quit spot. If we find Loksha, that's really nice. If we find the hammer, it's a little annoying just because we have to run it back up here and use the mirror spot to get to the east side of Death Mountain. But I mean, coming here makes sense as well. Just a heart container on top of Spectacle Rock and $50 inside of it.
What is that monstrosity?
That would be the Link with the leaf, losing his leaf. Gotta censor himself.
Oh my god.
You want to see his Moon Pearl. Alright, SDiezal, where are you going? Always going to Kingstrom, so... Alright, 2 keys downstairs. We are going upstairs before we go down there, though. Just praying those 2 items are up here.
Yeah, you hope you don't have to do the basement. Although, if you do, it's annoying for you, but you know your opponent has to do it too, so it's not so bad.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal. This is required, of course, so... The chances of, if there's an item in there, your opponent skipping that and getting some time on you are very, very low. But it's still annoying to do. It's just busy work. Alright, well there's one not item.
Oh, and Tigre going to go ahead and do the bomb jump. This is a little bit easier when you have the boots. 8 pixels of tolerance and a Bombos medallion. So our second item still to be found yet. We're at least Tigre is hoping at this point, and I'm sure SDiezal will as well. Drops off Moldorm. It does not drop off. It's not in the basement. Worth noting, though, both items would be in logic if it is in the basement. If this item drops off Moldorm, it's still not in logic because that sword is hidden in the dark room.
quite right. Did they both skip the heart container on Spectacle Rock?
I thought I saw T-Grave pick it up.
SDiezal skipped it. That. Man. Alright, Moldorm's going crazy. No way to avoid this when you have the fighter sword. Unless you have the hammer, of course. Ooh, silver arrows off Moldorm.
I mean, that's a nice pickup. I mean, it's sequence broken silver arrows, but who cares? They're silver arrows. You can just melt everything. Very nice to do this before Desert Palace as well.
That does make the Landmo fight a lot easier. We do have the Fire Rod, which also makes it a lot easier, but if we find the Moon Pearl and we end up going into Mire, that will be pretty important as well, because it makes Vitreous much more manageable. Alright, Desert's next.
We have Tigray going ahead checking Nagina right now. Did see that Ice Rod. Still no Dark World access of all things. We may be clearing all the Light World dungeons before we have Dark World access, which is slightly silly.
Yeah, I mean, in the worst case scenario, we might have to do Agina for that Dark World access if it's on the Pyramid Ledge. Let's hope not.
I'm still hoping Checkerboard Cave. Make the play. Make the call.
I think LTigre is working that way, and so will SDiezal here very shortly. They just finished off Moldorm and get their silver arrows as well, so.
Now, this is something that doesn't come up too much. Do they know the Super Bunny glitch?
I'm not sure if either one of them know it. It's not super difficult to pull off, but okay. So Ether is the Mire.
Okay, that looks like Swamp Palace, Ice Palace, and Thieves Town are our three pendants. So Ice Rod very much required. One thing that's not required, though, or may not be required, we're not entirely sure, the flippers.
Yeah, that's unless we have to get into either Ice Palace or Swamp, those might not be required at all. Very interesting. It's rare that the flippers aren't really required. I mean, sometimes that happens, but it feels like that's just a rare thing.
It is rare, and that also means that this is going to be one of those item locations that I think if you pick up the flippers, you're not happy with yourself, because you want to be able to just skip that entirely. So as soon as you see the flippers, the breadcrumb starts pointing in that direction, and it's not something you want to see per se.
Yeah, that's being able to skip Swamp and Ice. Ooh, there's our Moon Pearl.
I believe that's also our second item, because we found, didn't we? Or just one?
I assume that would be both items, just because they did not check the big chest, but...
No, because this has to be the key, and then they get the big key. So he's waiting to check the big treasure chest to see, you have to beat Moldorm anyway. So save the frames, don't check the big chest. If it's there, you go back, you don't lose a whole lot of time, but you save a ton of time if you can skip the chest.
Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, well, there is very little chance that Aga will be required at this point. There is a small chance, but it's very, very rare.
Yeah, right now it's looking pretty remote. The only way we would possibly need access to Aga at this point in time is if we need the hammer or the flippers, of course. That would give us access to our east side of Dark World, so the pod, pyramid, catfish area. We technically don't have access to that right now because everything is locked behind either the flippers or the hammer. Otherwise, we're set.
There's a very rare layout where the hammer can be at Pyramid Fairy, but let's see, we can't actually, that won't actually be the thing today because Pod and Turtle Rock, of course, require the hammer, and they are 5/6 crystals, so won't have to deal with that nightmare today.
You say nightmare, I say dream scenario.
Dream scenario. Does that count when you're playing or just when you're commentating?
Only when I'm commentating. Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, Tigre finds our first fetch quest, the mushroom.
That's an easy turn in with the flute. Probably the best fetch quest item with the items we have right now.
Yeah, not something you necessarily want to see, but yeah, not a bad item to pick up. LTigre checking checkerboard cave.
There's the
Oh.
lantern. Alrighty. Not the meanest spot I've seen that in, for sure.
Oh no, not even remotely.
Alright, SDiezal getting nice. Kill these silver arrows. This feels really nice. You nail that. I prefer the fire rod because I tend to miss a lot with the bow, but... So we have 3 crystals, just a little over 30 minutes. That's pretty great.
Yeah, that's actually amazing. So, the problem that not only with the items that we have access to, not only are flippers possibly not something you necessarily want to see, the hook shot might troll us a little bit here as well. Hook shot required for Swamp Palace and, of course, Ganon's Tower. So that hook shot has a very significant chance of really trolling us at this point in time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it can be almost anywhere. It only really locks the back half of Swamp and finishing Ganon's Tower as well as the Hookshot Cave. And I guess some chests and ice palace depending on the key layout. But that can be in Ganon's Tower at this point.
Did we happen to see? Oh, it's Ether Medallion on Misery Myers, and we don't. That's the one medallion we don't have.
One we don't have. Okay, so LTigre opted to come up here. I mean, this is like the only place we can't go in Dark World. It's the Midnets. Opting to do the Overworld first. Will they go back up to Thieves Town, or will they continue to South Shore? Looks like they're gonna go turn in the frog first. Maybe grab the purple chest before coming down here.
Yeah, it's a logical play, doing kind of the Jeremiah loop. The problem with this is that if anything's in that hammer pegs room, you really got to be conscious of being able to come back and get that.
Yeah, that's really hard to do. Like if we get the Cane of Samaria or the Magic Powder, and we try to check that at some point, we can do that. But it's still really hard to. SDiezal in the meantime is coming up here to Skull Woods. We do have the Fire Rod, so we can complete this in its entirety. Finding 10 arrows is our first item.
I mean, yeah, you can complete it in its entirety, but I mean, is this something you really want to do? It's a crystal, yeah, but fighter sword, no half magic.
No
What is
bottles.
it? No bottles, 8 heart, fighter sword, and I can't re-emphasize this enough. Fighter sword, Mothula. Ah,
Yeah, it does feel like something you don't want to do quite this moment, but I guess SDiezal is confident enough. Or maybe they'll check everything and then if take a swing at Mothula. If things go bad, then come back later. That's an option.
all right. So our first real set of route divergence here. We have Diesel going up here to Skullwoods. We have LTigre doing kind of a south route area and finding the single arrow on Stumpy.
Yeah, he just breaks off one of his little twig arms and hands it to you. Like, here you go.
It's even got feathers from a bird that landed on me. So Tigre looks like he's about to check out what Hype Cave is. So chat, go ahead and get your guesses in. Are we going to have a Hype Cave, a Dud Cave, anywhere in between? Get your guesses. I'm hoping for some hype, actually.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty hyped today, so let's see just how hype it is.
That we need more hype than just 20. And love.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hyped for Burna.
I guess so.
But
It's about the only thing you can get hype in there for at this point.
yeah, that was kind of a dud.
Alright, well here is this very dangerous fight. SDiezal has found himself in fighting Makia with the fighter sword, very low resources. Getting some good fire rod shots. That can be very very important in this fight. You can make it a lot quicker if you can get good fire rod shots, even with fighter sword.
Yeah, and that was a clean shot there.
That was very clean. I don't think they took any damage from Mothula. So that's Crystal 4, 36 minutes.
My
Okay.
God. So we still have, so the other crystals are going to be a little bit more difficult. Pod, we still need the hammer by logic. But then Misery Mire, I guess Misery Mire and Turtle Rock, all we need are the cane and the hammer.
Yep, we are not actually that far away from go mode. I mean, we do need another sword. We need a hookshot as well at some point. But aside from that,
Hammer, Aether, cane. Yeah. The problem is when you've already completed that many crystal dungeons, you have to start looking at maybe dipping some of these pendants that you maybe want to not do.
yeah. I suspect SDiezal will probably do the overall that LTigre already did before they do that, just to see. It's not like dipping pendant these towns too bad in the situation. We have the boots, we have the mirror. It's just going to be a question of if we find nothing in those first 4 chests, it's going to feel very bad to come back later once we do have the hammer. Or even just go there, get in the back and not find anything, but the big chest has an item. Those are the scenarios where it kind of sucks.
Yeah, but if you're in one of those situations, you can. It's such a bad situation. I think you can make the gamble that your opponent probably did something similar.
Yeah, I would say so. Coming up here to the graveyard ledge.
Oh, this is a nice, interesting check here.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really route this in with anything else. If you had the flippers, you could go to Catfish from here. But I mean, we've already done the graveyard stuff in the light world, so might as well get that big 20. Or not. Yeah, and this is another location. It's not high in your priorities list normally. Maybe SDiezal decided to come here before doing the south side, just on the off chance maybe LTigre skipped it and it has something very important in it. That's a realistic scenario. So always fan of that. SDiezal not sure. Maybe if they check the house, just gonna be thorough. LTigre might be a little less confident with this equipment and Mothula. They're taking a little bit of extra time to gather the resources in the switch room, the hearts and the magic, just to be sure they are as well equipped going this fight as they can be. It's a very, very harrowing fight. SDiezal is made look very easy, but it's not. It's not. All right, we'll see how they do here.
Looks like Diesel is going to be dipping into Thieves Town, at least for these first 4.
That's interesting. I expect LTigre will probably do something similar after they finish up here. Potentially. There's not a ton of options right now for him. So...
You can tell Tigre maybe not quite as comfortable with this fight as Diesel is. We saw Diesel in the pregame doing his boss practices, so maybe that practice is absolutely paying off and is the difference here right now on this Mothula fight. Tigre gets it down, not quite as clean.
They do, and SDiezal finds Ether and Thieves Town.
Oh.
Alright, well, not satisfied yet, SDiezal. Going to the back. Understandable, I would say. We can get into Mire now, but we need the cane to actually complete it. And there's 2 items in there, so... There's some people just have the mentality that if you dip into a pendant dungeon, you might as well make sure you have everything before you leave, which I think is a very understandable thing, especially in B29, where it seems like a lot of value is found in dungeons. You don't want to like come in here, half complete it, and then just get, messed up by the other item is right up here in the bombled broom or something.
Well, and you can also make the case of this seed has been way too kind to me and just expecting it to troll you at some point in time and says, nope, something's in here. I feel it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a ped seed, all things considered, so it's certainly not a terrible idea to make sure you're just really thorough here. It's going to be very awkward if there's an item in the big chest. But other than that,
I like how chat is pointing out that it's our job to curse our rudders. I just want to point that out. And we've not been doing a very good job because clearly we're 4 crystals in already.
this is just the long con.
The long con. Lull them into a sense of security.
Exactly. Oh no, these pterodactyls.
Oh, they're so bad.
They don't play nice. Alright, LTigre coming over here to the Graveyard Lodge as well.
This is interesting. Diesel does not have the key, so the key is actually locked behind in the big treasure chest, which means anything that blind drops here is technically hammer locked.
Is it?
Yeah, because the randomizer logic effectively expects you to use keys in the worst possible way. So in order to be able to get the final item on blind, you would have to be able to access that key in that treasure chest.
Huh. Alright, well, it's Big 20, so...
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, it would be nice if it were like, oh, hey, here's your flippers. I'm like, oh, God.
Oh, no. Well, if that is true, and that those would be hammer locked, we can at least rule out some things.
That's true. Diesel now looking like he's going to clean up his overworld that Tigre has already done. We'll see what Tigre does. Not really I mean, you get Ether in the first 4, but otherwise you don't really get a whole lot here in Blind.
No, you really don't. It's feeling like Misery Myers is gonna have our next thing. I guess the mushroom, we haven't turned that in either.
So where do we go from here? Do you do a pod dip? I mean, you have the bow, so you're not going to be bow locked, and you only need the hammer to clear it out. Or do you go to Misery Mire and hope for one of the 2 items there to be the cane?
We can't actually get to pod without doing Agnum right now.
Oh, right.
So I feel like if it were me in this scenario, I would we have Zora, we have the mushroom. Those are very near to each other. I think I would get those out of the way before I headed to Mystery Mire, just in case one of them is the Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, we don't really have a whole lot of overworld left to really check, do we?
No, there's not a whole lot. SDiezal is going to be finishing up the few things they did not check. And they're just going to have to make a choice of go to Misery Mire or turn the mushroom and then do Zora. And that's about it.
Yeah, we're 4 crystals in.
Well,
and a pendant dungeon, but we are quickly running out of locations here.
Well, I mean, there is the... I don't want to say it, but there is option 3, where we have to do Aga to get to Pod or Catfish, where our next progression is. That's the thing that can happen. Don't hope for it, but it can happen.
It's a thing that can happen, but we don't have access to it, though. We need either the Master Sword or the Cape, and we have neither.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. Cane and Burn it not sufficient at getting past lasers. At least when they guard castle tower entrances. So what would be the funniest thing to me is if we go to Mushroom and Zora, we get nothing. And then the last item, Misery Mire, that we find is the Cape. That would be funny.
You say funny, I say cruel, and everyone says entertaining. So let's do it. Let's do it.
I don't make any excuses. I do kind of like to see harmless suffering.
I mean, I kind of always rule for some sort of suffering at some point in time. The game, I think, has been cruel to everyone. So it's one of those turnabout is fair play sorts of situations.
Yeah, I need to know that when I get terrible seats in this this randomizer, I'm not suffering alone. Everybody goes through it. Okay, so we do have the Moon Pearl. I don't believe SDiezal did the sequence break, so they'll be getting Hobo information on the island item, and then we'll be able to get to the 2 chests in the Waterfall of Wishing as well. So that's very efficient use of the flute set to take Clipper. Alright, well, LTigre did finish up Thieves Town. Where will you go now? They did complete all the software stuff, so this will be new territory.
See, I'd like to see a save and quit here prior to turning in the mushroom, just in case.
Just in case you want to reset for the fake powder maybe later.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and then I guess if Zora has nothing as well, you can also save and quit after that. I guess that's another option, but I don't know. It does happen where fake powder is relevant, but I can't really think of any extreme examples off the top of my head. But I mean, options are always a good thing. Our option today for LTigre is going into Mire.
I mean, it's 2 item locations. You got the ether. That's the last item you got. Diesel isn't fighting anything. He's still got Zora though.
Big C might have something important here. If it's the Canis Samori, that's going to be really awkward, but Alright, just piece of art on the ledge, so we don't have to come back for that later. That's nice.
Yep. 2/3 of a chance on LTigre side, 1/3 of a chance on SDiezal side. Where's our next progression?
It's a big 20.
It's got to be here at Meyer then. It's got to be.
Is it seriously going to be the cape? It can't be the cape, right? Come
I think the
on.
last thing you want to see is the cape or the master sword right now. Anything that gives you Aga access.
I mean, if you find Canis Samori here, that's really nice. That's really convenient, but yeah, nuts. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, so that's Agada. We don't have to worry about that guy anymore, at least for right now.
Yeah, well, and Aga's dead now because that hammer gives us access to all Eastern Dark World. You can go ahead and clear out Pod. That makes it pretty easy at this point in time.
Yeah, we will have to kill him later in Ganon's tower, but not the first guy. Not the first guy. That's the one you don't like to see. His brother, he's fine. Or I guess his 3 brothers. Anyway, SDiezal. Come back here into the Dark World? What'd they miss?
He missed the Jeremiah loop, Jeremiah in the purple chest, so he's coming over here to do those.
Oh.
Tigre is, you know what? I don't know if you actually hope to find the cane when you're here because fighters. I mean, okay, I guess you got silvers, so yeah, go ahead and find the cane here.
Yeah, if you put the cane in my hand here with the items that LTigre has, I'm like, yeah, let's bring him out. I'll fight him. I don't care how many brothers he's got. Bring them all on. They die in one shot from silver arrows anyway.
And the key, we're still looking for the second item. LTigre is really hoping it's not in the back in the coffee break. Lots of keys though.
Ugh. I guess you got to at this point. I don't think you can really just leave without that.
Yeah, you've already committed so much time in here. And yeah.
Well, I guess we have this. Our
Oh,
first...
there's just.
Yeah, there's our B. It's a first bottle. So that's something.
I mean, our first bottle, another fetch quest, but you got the hammer. So he's definitely happy to see both those things.
Yeah, it's actually kind of convenient to find both of those in the same spot because in the event we do want to check the kid, we can also check the Hammerhead Cave. So that's nice.
Diesel's going into the one spot that he needs to go to, which is nice.
I'm gonna be happy to see that hammer.
The question is, does he get the hammer and then immediately dip out, or do you keep checking?
I think you have to keep checking. It's really risky to leave without that. I mean, I know it opens up Pod and some other stuff, like some East Death Mountain, but I don't know. That's just me, though. I'm really paranoid, I guess you could say. Well, we are coming into Pod here.
A logical play, another crystal that you can go ahead and complete. More importantly, it's a 5/6 crystal. Not that I expect. I mean, when your go mode item is effectively Kane at this point.
Yeah, well, keep in mind we do still need the hook shot somewhere, so... And we do need a sword. So... I guess that would be something to keep in mind. If we end up doing Turtle Rock last, though, I don't expect that will get checked before we go into GT. Though it's actually hard to say. Do you think you would go into GT without the hook shot and just assume it's going to be in the climb there, or do you go check Pyramid Freight before you go up there?
I go ahead and check it. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're already, I mean, this is tough. Because
right there.
if GT's right there, you just go ahead and do it, knowing that, I mean, if it's not there, you're probably going to have to dip Ice Palace likely, and you check it when you on your way back down. Like it's the first check you make when you come back down, but afterwards there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like checking the bottom half of GT isn't that big of a deal, but what if hookshot's in the upper half before Moldorm? That's where it gets kind of sketch. Do you make the bet on that? And then when you get there, you feel sad when you don't find it. Ooh, SDiezal taking a little bit of a death here, trying to dash through these enemies. No,
Yeah.
not a big deal.
Those guys are mean. Those guys are completely mean. They do a ton of damage.
Very inconsiderate about where people are walking. These beetles also very inconsiderate.
I mean, let's face it, the entire game is just a little bit inconsiderate, so that's fine.
Yeah, there's one considerate guy, and it's the guy that runs away when you approach him. He's like, "Oh, am I in your way? Let me get out of here." That's the guy. People say chivalry is dead. Well, take a look at that guy, the runaway guy.
All right, Tigre going through these dark rooms here. Again, everything's in logic at this point in time. It's just a matter of finding everything. Grand total of 6 small keys throughout all of Palace of Darkness. So, lots of fun with keys here.
If you like keys, that's definitely the place to be. Ooh,
No.
you know what that does.
Yeah, that's not fun. And unfortunately, that might prompt LTigre to check that. I mean, if nothing's here, if we don't get our next progression here, we would probably have to dip one of those anyway. Oh, there's our Master Sword.
Alright, so swords, not too much concern now. We did find the silver arrows. Probably won't be going out of our way to check chests for them anymore.
And that looks to be our last item. I believe we're set at this point where Helmasaur King is going to have the compass going through here. But knowing all the items, so the flippers unlocks Swamp Palace, a hookshotless Swamp Palace. It unlocks Ice Palace, and we did get those early mitts, so it might be there. Still no access to complete Misery Mire or to even jump into Turtle Rock. So, which do you dive? A 6-item Red Crystal Swamp Palace, which you can't complete unless you get the hook shot, or do you take a risk on kind of a lower density, longer, but it's a green pendant Ice Palace that you can complete?
I go to East Death Mountain before I even think about either of those dungeons.
Oh, well, I mean, sure, if you take the, I mean, well, yeah, I guess.
Path of least resistance.
I'm trying to build up some troll potential here. Just roll with it, man. Come on.
I mean, that's the empty east side Death Mountain. It's just the appetizer there. It's the last bit of hope before despair sets in.
Well, and it's worth pointing out, there's only really I guess, 4 treasures that you can get up on Dark Death Mountain. You have Super Bunny Cave, you have the first treasure chest in Hookshot Cave, can't get the rest. And then you have Spike Cave. And that's it.
Yeah, there are still a lot of items up there, and we don't know like what's on the floating rock. That would definitely be where I go. So much stuff. LTigre making good use of the silver arrows, one-shotting the Helm of Circling, dropping the compass as you predicted. Gonna leave this right out of here.
Right at an hour, there's our 5th crystal. Wow. So now we're just looking for the cane for our last 2. That's it.
Alright, LTigre taking a bit of a detour out here to come down and check the pyramid ferry, not the pyramid ferry, the pyramid ledge. It's not where the ferry is. She lives 2 doors down, and probably catfish. And I don't think they actually went to the Zora area to begin with, so they'll probably knock out the Waterfall of Wishing and all the Zora stuff while they're there.
I mean, might as well.
Yeah, it's never going to get more convenient than right now, I would say.
SDiezal taking a death warp?
Ooh, another bee on the ledge. Cool.
So many bees.
If only we had that bug net, we could recatch them. Just complete the game with these from here on out. I wonder if SDiezal thinks did they come up here? I would assume they
Yeah,
did.
pretty sure. Oh, didn't
Ooh.
have the big key. Right.
Awkward.
Tigre going to fill up on blue goo before going any further, which might indicate an Ice Palace play.
It could. He did just use up all of his money for Zora, though, so that's gonna be... If he goes to Zora area, that's gonna be a little awkward.
He's heading that direction, too.
Well, you know, sometimes... I hesitate to call that a mistake, because I don't really know what's going through his mind. He could have a perfect logical reason for doing that. But sometimes you think, well, I'm gonna buy potions while I'm here, and then you don't actually realize that puts you below a certain money threshold. We know it's nothing. He's better off with not having enough money for Zora, but he doesn't know that.
Oh, I hope that rupee right there reminded him.
He's probably aware at this point, just gonna check the ledge item and peace out, probably. Oh.
No. Uh-oh. Oh, LTigre.
It's trust fund, buddy. Thinks he's got all the money in the world. You're in the real world now. Zora doesn't accept checks. And there's no reception for your dad to drive out and give you some money. I've never actually seen that. Where he just pops up and doesn't give you anything.
He goes, nope. And Tigre is like, oh, okay.
Oh, man.
I thought he shot a fireball at you. Was that only after if you summon him again?
I don't know. I've never... I can't say I've actually gone all the way there without the money just to try that, but I kind of want to now.
He's looking at his rupees and going, yep, I just had enough. He is making the play that you suggested, Dark Death Mountain up here.
Yeah, this is definitely very sense make. Before getting into Swamp and Ice, I think. Those you don't want to do. You don't want to go in those places. They bad places. Maybe if we had the book, we knew, you know, the pedestal's required for something, then it's like, all right, just buckle down and do it. But we'll see if there's anything up here or not. I believe that was just money on the floating island.
Oh, this is our first check into regular Death Mountain too.
Yeah.
I completely forgot we hadn't checked regular Death Mountain yet. But okay, yeah, this is a much better check than anything I suggested.
Wow. Watch those be the correct plays, and you would have sub 130 the seed. Ooh. Well, that's a load off my mind.
Yeah, that's a load off your mind, but then you're thinking,
Yeah, we got flippers. I actually don't like this. Couldn't you have just kept it in GT, put it on the torch?
yeah, just right there where I know it's going to be. And yes, for those people in chat who are wondering, that absolutely puts the pedestal in logic.
Well, that's efficient logic hook shot. We can get everything in Ice Palace, we can get everything in Swamp Palace. We have done Thieves Town, so Ped can be the king. It's a very realistic scenario.
Tempered Sword for LTigre, that's a nice pickup. Is going to make Ganon a little bit easier to swallow.
Yeah, Tempered's a very nice find. SDiezal did check the Spike Cave. Got bombs. Not really amazing, but probably going to check that on LTigre anyway, so... Alright. Going into Dark Death Mountain now. Did get that hookshot, so that opens up the rest of the chests in Hookshot Cave as well, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And since you're up here, if you do happen to find the cane, just go into Eternal Rock. Just dive in.
Yeah, I don't see any reason not to. That's all we're looking for now.
Man, that hurts my heart, Diesel skipping that full heart container.
It's gonna be really awkward if he dies later by 1 heart of damage. But, not having any trouble with Mothula with Floberson. Maybe they don't need it after all.
Oh no, this is going to be a problem for Diesel. Okay, half magic for LTigre. He's actually going to be doing the Dark World checks first. That hookshot is in Spiral Cave. That might be the last treasure chest he checks. So it's not going to be quite as efficient in the long term.
Alright, so both dungeons were Ether. I guess we just have all these medallions for nothing.
But otherwise, no cane up here.
That is true. There is no cane up here, so... Could be on the pedestal in the worst case scenario. And so we come back to that question you asked me, which one would I do first? I guess we have Hookshot now, which kind of makes the answer a little bit different than what the question was proposed, but Swamp Palace is probably where I would go in this scenario.
Yeah, it's more dense. 6 item locations. I think there's only 3 in Ice Palace, but 4 with the green pendant, if you have to go ahead and do that. But yeah, Swamp Palace still feels like it's a better play.
Yeah. Alright, looks like that's what LTigre is going to opt to do.
Makes sense. Yeah, Diesel It's unfortunate that he opted to do Spike Cave first, because had he come over here and done this and done the same routing that Tigre did, getting the hook shot immediately after you could use the hook shot in Hookshot Cave is upsetting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the biggest deal. We're still on Death Target Mountain. But yeah, you would want to have that when you go in there the first time, I would say. Just one of those little things. Well, at least SDiezal has Turtle Rock open. It's one thing they got on LTigre right now.
Yep. All right, so Tigre is getting ready to dive into Swamp Palace. As soon as we find the cane, we're done. We're out of there as quickly as possible.
If we find the cane, you mean?
If. No, I'm gonna keep saying when, because I want to keep jinxing it, because I don't want it to be here.
Oh, okay, I see. So I guess this first chest here is gonna be it, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Crap! I hit the wrong button!
Somebody clip that. Okay. So, LTigre is in go mode at an hour, 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's gonna be a quick seed.
And we kind of got that feeling from the beginning.
Yeah.
So we've already 5 crystals in, just got 2 more, and they're going to be relatively fast. SDiezal, I mean, I hope he ends up going to Swamp Palace first, but he could make the low percent play, thinking that that's what Tigre would do if he's feeling behind.
It is possible that SDiezal feels maybe a little bit behind. They did die unintentionally, I believe, right before going into pod, at the very least. And, you know, little things like that can weigh in your mind, make you feel a lot more behind than you actually are. We will see. Very shortly.
I will say, up to this point in time, this has been a pretty linear seed. Like, you go one place, you get an item. You go another place, you get another item. You got a lot of stuff early, but it limited to where you could go. So, other than the sequence break for Dark Rooms, and these two have followed each other's path just the entire way, it's been very linear.
Yeah, I would say so. We did have a lot of options early to switch Light World Dungeon and to tackle first, but that, I mean, that's, you're going to do all those anyway, so definitely did end up being a bit linear, just because no, there was like progression in 2 different pendant dungeons, for example. So SDiezal is being very thorough, though, coming here. Check this little bits of overworld he skipped the first time before he goes into one of the pendant dungeons, which is, you know, not a bad idea.
No, especially when the pendant dungeon is just right there.
Yeah, I mean, you're not expecting to go into a Swamp Palace and find your go mode in the first chest.
And here comes Silver Arrow Vitreous. This is going to be fast.
It's a very arrow allergic boss. Okay, so SDiezal is coming here to swamp. That's really good.
Yeah. Meanwhile, LTigre is about a dungeon and a half ahead at this point with the setup that Diesel is going to have to do. And where are you going, Diesel? Diesel, no.
Did Diesel not check Catfish and the Pyramid Ledge, maybe?
I don't think he did.
Well, as I said before, I mean, it makes sense to get the overworld. This takes a lot less time than potentially full clearing Swamp Palace will, so cannot be blamed for it.
Why do these dead rocks love to block Tigre there?
I guess because they're soulless. demons created by somebody at Nintendo who I guess was overworked and just wanted to make children suffer. That's my theory.
That's not wrong. Okay, so Tigre getting ready to enter Turtle Rock. Diesel already opened it up, but LTigre, of course, is a fair bit ahead. We're just waiting on Diesel. Man, he's taking the long way around.
Yeah, I think what really kind of put a bigger wedge between these two guys is that SDiezal, his routing and pod ended up making it to where he didn't have the big key for the big chest, and he spent a little bit of time finicking around in pod that LTigre did not. I think that was kind of like the real separating point between these two.
Yeah, other than that, they have been relatively close, but yeah, I think if you have to do kind of the big things that separated them, you know, the pod routing, the Death Mountain routing, and now we're just waiting on Diesel to, you know, find his last item.
It's going to be about finding it very shortly, so that's nice.
Both of these runners are probably feeling Tigre getting trolled by the blueberry right there, unfortunately. But both of these runners have got to be feeling pretty good at where they're at. Tigre, of course, in go mode, it's at 1 hour, 16 minutes. Diesel is about to be there. I mean, he's healthy. He's got 16 hearts. He's got 2 blue potions. He's got, you know, silver arrows. He's got the tempered sword, blue mail. You're really not going to be struggling that much on Ganon, so probably feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, I would feel very comfortable with those 2 blue potions. Especially with half magic, like Trinex doesn't really pose that much of a threat at this point. You still can die it again if you make a sloppy mistake, but you know you don't wish that on anybody, and he has the option to be especially safe going in that fight. So I would definitely feel very good if I was in the Tigre's position.
Diesel now will be on his way to complete Misery Mire, while Tigre is, you know, part of the way through Turtle Rock here.
Yeah, things can still sort of even up, depending on where the Ganon's Tower big key is. If LTigre takes like a really unfortunate route where the location is, and SDiezal goes right to it, it could sort of even up it again, but it's definitely in LTigre's favor right this moment.
Absolutely. Tigre does find the big key prior to the door, so looks like he's going to be able to steal that key properly.
Yeah, I won't have to check the middle chest. That's nice. I mean, it's not a big deal if the key's there, but when you can skip it, feels good. You gotta appreciate the little things in Rando.
Absolutely. Like taking a ball to the face.
Ooh, taking some damage here. Has to be a little bit.
Oh my
careful.
gosh. And he says, "No, I'm using the safety. I do not want to have to go back through this right now." And that's the right play.
Yeah, if you're feeling even a little unsure, because this room, it's very easy to die. All that has to happen is one of those balls have to hit you in the face, or you take an unfortunate laser here in this other room, and then you're going back to the start, and you don't want to do that. It is unfortunate since that is one less safety he has to work with, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
"17 hearts. My God, have we found just about every heart container in this game so far?
We might have. The rest might be in GT, for all we know. I guess there's Ice Palace too, but
And, you know, the rest is Swamp Palace.
yeah.
Alright, so won't be able to skip Laser Bridge, unfortunately.
We do have Brian at least, so. And half magic, so checking that's not going to be super bad or anything, but it's still a little annoying. Meanwhile, SDiezal just finished up Mystery Mire, going to be heading up here into the rock just as LTigre probably finishes it. I'm trying to do the laser skips here.
Butter Sword.
Why not? That's helpful for Trinex.
Yeah, it does. Butter Sword does absolutely mean that we can set things up to where you only need 3 slashes. So yeah, it's absolutely beneficial for Trinex.
And of course, small keys in the last chest because it has to be, right?
It has to be. Love that swag dash. Love it.
It's cool and it's actually pretty efficient, so A+.
And there's LTigre already with the PowerPoint presentation. And by the way, both heads are down.
Yeah, it takes a very short amount of time. Gonna be able to get this quick kill potentially as well. You can do this with Tempered Sword too, but its sword, it's a little laggy. There we go. He made Trinex like a backward L for LTigre, I guess.
We'll go with that explanation.
It's like Zoro.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen in chat, I turn your attention to the chat. We don't have the bot, the ALTTP rando, but go ahead and get your guesses in chat. There are 22 treasure chests in Ganon's Tower that can possibly contain the Ganon's Tower Big Key. 1 through 22. Go ahead and get your guesses in there. Sir, what's going to be your guess?
Well, normally I like to go with the torch. Today I'm gonna go with the tower room, just because the seat's been too nice. I want to see some tower room. How about you?
I'm going to go with 18, actually. I want to see it deep. I want to see some right side, left side guesses that go awry. I don't want to quite go so mean that it's in the tile room, but 18, I think, is where I'm going to go.
Mhm.
And first 2 treasure chests here on the right side are both rupees, so it is going to force them to go over to the left side first.
Yep, no way around that. If you don't find a key there, there's the key.
All right, 4 was bombs. 5, another piece of heart. Powder and another fetch quest. Powder's nice because there's a lot of anti-fairies here, so being able to already have something kind of ready to go is nice, absolutely.
Yeah, that's gonna make sure that he has that blue potion for the Ganon fight, unless something horrible happens. That was just the skeleton room fetch quest, I guess. We get the shovel, but we ain't gonna be digging that up.
Nah, We're gonna have to wait till the credits to figure out what we were digging up.
Spoiler alert, it's nothing good.
No, no. Maybe the book or the cape. Ooh, cape could be good.
Ooh. Well, if I find clothing there, I just get kind of suspicious. Like, where did this come from? Why is it buried?
Who died for this cloak to be here?
Am I on a wanted list now or something? I don't want any part of that.
That's fair. Rando room coming up.
All right, well that's 18 hearts.
Oh my goodness. Mirror shield. Okay.
I mean, it's not the worst item to find. That does help make the mimics a little bit easier. You can just walk up in their face and there's nothing they can do.
That's true.
Ooh, that was a sank heart in the Dirtbag big chest. Just, it's not really important, but it does amuse me.
All right, and now we're going back here to Ice Armos.
There's
So-
a red mail.
Red mail. All the safeties here. I mean, we just looking for more bottles, right? That's
Yeah, that's about it.
$15, $16.
You were close.
Yep, I was so very close, but 16 was the answer.
Alright, now we have the safest climb through GT that I think I've ever seen.
He does have to be a little bit careful. Only has 19 arrows. If he wastes too many on, say, Landmo, we'll have to resort to, not killing Ganon with silvers, but might not be a problem. Just something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, there are a few 5 arrow pickups as well, climbing up here. If he knows where those are, then you can just refill those. Could also opt just use Fire Rod on Landmo. He does have half magic, so that's not really a much slower option. Assuming, I guess, if you miss 1 arrow. Yeah, SDiezal on Trinex. Ooh, this firehead's just dodging like crazy.
I was, and that means, unfortunately, that there's a little bit of a mess left by the firehead, or by the ice head.
You give him an inch, and you'll put a mile of ice underneath of it.
Tigre so far doing well in the gauntlet, though.
Yeah, already coming up on level 2. Really nice hero cycle.
Yes, it was. So not having to worry about arrows at all, despite what I said.
Yeah, not today. So about the only thing that could go wrong for LTigre that would put SDiezal back in the race is if LTigre despawned GT up here.
I mean, we've seen it happen. It doesn't happen often, but it could happen.
Yeah, sometimes some people do get careless. They might feel a bit rushed and just go for it, and then accidents happen.
You sound a little bit like a mob boss when you say that. Hey, what can I say? Accidents, they happen.
It's a nice run you got here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. some butcher despawned all the enemies in GT, and you had to walk back up again. It can be a little bit hard with broken knees. Alright, well anyway,
Oh, you're so mean.
we get through there, so that's the worst of it.
Putting that powder to immediate use, and says, nope, not even worried about these treasure chests. I don't blame him.
There's nothing he could pick up at this point except like a blue potion that would be helpful. He's got the best shield, he's got the best clothes, he's got the best sword. The cape would be the only thing that'd be even a little bit helpful. Alright, coming up on Aga 2 now. Looking like a pretty good sub 135. That's really good for this version.
Oh, absolutely. Aga, kind of weird lineup there. This ought to be a nice one right here. Good double.
Not terrible patterns. Oh, that blue ball. That sucks. This is a good one. Yeah, this one's another good one.
And down goes Aga, and LTigre is about to fight the big pig, Mr. Blue Bacon himself.
Certainly is. He's gonna look so big with Butter Sword and Red Mail and all this other good stuff, but I mean, he's got to fight you. This is the last chance for him to win. Alright, well, thinking is also something we won't have to do a whole lot of in this fight, it's because Butter Sword makes it so easy. Getting through these phases a cinch.
Taking some damage to the fire bats. Not as much as he could be, but of course, Butter Sword already moving on to phase 3, and he's got almost 2 full rows of hearts, so he's doing all right.
Yeah, he's still got that extra blue potion as well, so taking a little damage just to speed things along is not a bad idea. And we're through the worst of it now. Just gotta get through this last phase before the final phase, and we'll be golden, or I guess we'll be silver. Ganon will be silver, we'll be golden. And we did find those.
Yeah, we did. They were conveniently located.
Yeah, don't keep him with Moldorm next time. He's a snitch. Ooh,
And the nice triple.
that feels good.
Yes, it does. So GG to LTigre. Does finish right as SDiezal picks up his Ganon Tower Big Key and finishes with an official time of 132.46.
Yeah, the end screen summing up there nicely. Winner, which LTigre is. See if we can get him in here for a interview for you guys.
I hope he doesn't join the wrong room. There's races going on all 4 ALTTPR channels, so it looks a little bit busy here on our Discord.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate. Gonna get some confused people if that happens, but meanwhile, SDiezal making their way up the gauntlet now. Probably being very comfortable as well. Did not buy potions, but with that magic powder should just be just fine. You can do Fighter Sword Mothula. I think you'll be very comfortable here.
Well, I would hope so, yes.
Yeah. Be awkward if SDiezal got weaker with every sword upgrade. That's a superpower.
That, you know what? That's a superpower that I would take because I don't have any swords. So if your sword is 0 and you get weaker with every sword upgrade, does that mean your power is infinite when your sword is 0?
I guess so. I would advise you, if that were the case, not to open any chests. Don't pick up any swords you find lying on the ground. You can't actually get rid of them at that point.
Risk reward for every treasure chest opened.
Ugh. Alright, looks like LTigre is interested in joining us. They'll be here in just a moment, so... SDiezal did run out of arrows, but there's 5 in here, so that's just enough.
Should be plenty.
Just don't miss. It's that easy. And if you do miss, don't miss more than once.
I mean, then you'd have to do spins, which, you know...
Yeah. Ooh, there's 10 arrows. Not getting them though. Probably doesn't really care at this point. It spins with the butter swords really, really quick, so... Alright, well, I was about to say, I do see LTigre in the waiting room. Here they are. Hello, LTigre. GG.
Hey, thanks, guys.
So, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's nice to get a not super sadistic seed for once in tournament, and I think I performed pretty well. I'm overall very happy with this race. I'm glad I caught that break with the Kansamari at the end. I was really worried I was going to make the wrong decision there and get get knocked back a few dozen minutes, but it worked out well, and I think I performed well, so I was happy with it.
Yeah, we were kind of talking at that point in time because we didn't know where the Keen of Samaria was going to be either. And we were thinking about all the different trolley locations it could be. And there's like, no, it's just going to be here in the first chest in Swamp. Yeah, that's ridiculous. And it happened immediately.
Welcome by the way.
Yeah, I was pretty happy to see that. You know, I felt like I was playing pretty well, so I was like, I don't need to. You know, it's kind of between ice and swamp at that point, and I was like, I don't think I need to take the gamble of swamp. Let's just go with the high percentage play, and it paid off pretty much immediately. So that was sweet.
I was going to ask you. Let's talk about Zora.
Can we not? No. I was actually terrified of Zora after I eventually didn't have the money. I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be the one location that destroys me somehow. But I figured it was still like a ridiculously low chance that Kane would be there, but I knew it was possible, and I was like, oh god. But I still didn't have enough money even after doing whatever I did next. So I was like, you know what? It's just gonna have to not be a Zora, and hopefully, thank God it wasn't.
That ended up just being a big 20. So we assume that you were just in autopilot at that point. It's like, okay, well, I'm here. I'm going to buy some potions just to be safe, and then not looking at your money count.
No, I didn't think about it at all. It was so late in the seed. I just figured I had like 1,000 rupees by then. You know, I didn't even think about my money. I was like, all right, I could just buy some potions and still go to Zora, and then totally was way off with that.
That's the real life lesson for today. Be aware of your finances, people.
Yeah. Closely watch your finances, that's for sure. But ended up not hurting me too bad, thankfully. And I delayed Zora so long already, I figured even, you know, if it was something, then I was in a lot of trouble, so.
SDiezal is on Ganon now. You guys were very even for most of the race. I think you had a slight advantage for most of it, and then what really sort of put a wedge between you two guys was that SDiezal's routing was a little less efficient.
No, okay.
Yeah, you had, I mean, such a late access to Death Mountain. He went up there and checked Spike Cave first, and then did the dark check, and ended up doing all the dark checks, doing the bonk across in Hookshot Cave, knowing that immediately after you got the hookshot.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but at least it was right there. Yeah, I think the toughest part of the seed for me was deciding when to do Mothula, because I'm not very confident in that fight, and like, we had access to it pretty early, and I was like, oh man, all I have is the fighter sword, and that's just such a hard boss. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna scour the entire Dark World for some item that's gonna help me in that fight, and I do that, and I get absolutely nothing through the whole thing, and I end up just having to fight Mothula with the fighter sword in the end. But I was glad I was able to clutch it out.
I think that's a good strategy. SDiezal did do that very early with the Fire Sword and Fire Rod. Speaking of SDiezal, they do finish with an official SRTV time of 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 50 seconds. A very good time for this version.
GG.
They'll be joining us here in just a moment, so you guys have a conversation about the things that occurred. It was actually a pretty generous seed, so...
Yeah, not too bad at all.
We were legitimately wondering there for a while because it felt like your last chance to avoid Aghanim was going to be Misery Mire and just hoping you have access to that East Dark World. One of those low percent chance waiting for the flippers or the hammer to get access to Pod, and Mire was kind of your last hope there.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It could have been a very late Aghanim. But I think it wasn't even possible because we still didn't have Cape or Master Sword at that point.
You're correct.
Yeah, so it's still, if we had found one of those in Mire, then it would have been, obviously Aghanim, but,
And we are just joined by SDiezal. GG.
Yo, thank you. GG.
GG.
So, how you feeling?
I think I spent a little bit too much time in the overworld looking for that cane, but other than that, it was a pretty generous seed.
Yeah, you're right. Overworld, I believe you guys checked very similar things. I think just LTigre did it a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My routing was terrible.
Yeah, Pod kind of threw you for a little bit of a loop there, which was another thing.
Yeah, I wanted to do right side first to get. I thought maybe big key over there, and it would have helped me route Pod a little bit better. And then I just botched that. And then, and then I think what was the other thing? I think all that Thieves had was the medallion to get into Mire, but I full cleared it anyways.
Yeah, I full cleared it as well. It felt too gambly to not full clear it at that point. At least where I was, I had very, very little items left. It became like a 50-50 whether it was in Thieves Town or Misery Mire for me at that point.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Not to finish it.
That hammer in Mire, man, that was not cool.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. But overall, other than that, it was a pretty nice seed.
Yeah.
Both of us finished under 140, which is nice. Some of my tournament seeds have been horrendous.
Yeah,
so it was nice to see that.
Yeah, this is definitely would have been definitely one of the better ones I had, and I knew as soon as we got boots and Sang Chast that it was going to be like all execution from there. So
yeah, and all three pendants and long dungeons and Dark World, and yeah.
Yeah, you guys both played really well. SDiezal doing that Mahila very early, very confidently, and knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
Respect. I delayed it as far as I could. I still had to do it with Fighter Sword in the end.
Yeah, we still end up having to do it that way. So I think I got silvers before it, so it definitely helped out a little bit, but it was still sketchy.
Yeah, that does actually help a lot in the torch room leading up to Mothula, because you can just clear all the those with arrows instead of having to slash them or shoot them with fire rod.
I've never actually thought of doing that. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I only do it if I have Fighter Sword or that's really the only situation if I have silvers too, so I can save on magic.
So LTigre going to 4-2, SDiezal going to 3-3. So how do you guys feel about your respective scores in the tournament this far? Start with LTigre.
It's about right. It's about what I expected. I haven't been practicing too much, but I know I have the ability to do pretty well. So I'm just hoping to make it in a bracket. That's my goal for this tournament. So it's about what I expected.
Yeah, pretty much the same. My other 2 losses were terrible seeds, just god awful terrible seeds. So I don't feel too bad about it. And then my last win was a really, really good run. So yeah, I don't feel like it's too bad. I'll finish off my last race just for the heck of it, and then yeah, should be good.
So it's just one more race. Am I correct, or 2 for this? I'm not actually sure.
We're at, let's see, 6
This is
races.
week
I think there's
6.
7, right?
Yep, just the one more after this week. So
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
you just need to win one more to advance, because I think you need
Alright.
at least a 5-2 record to go to brackets.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
So do you have any questions for either of these guys, Vitasia?
No, you covered pretty much everything I was going to ask him. Just GG to both of these guys. Amazing run. It was so close there until just a little bit of things happened there at the very end.
Did you go to ice, SDiezal, or did you?
No, I didn't, and I almost did right before going to swamp. I was like, do I want to gamble swamp or ice for that cane? And swamp being definitely the better choice, just because of chest density, but just as I hate ice palace, so.
Yeah, I pretty much did the exact same thing, same mindset.
Yeah, and then in the second that I found Kane in that first chest, I'm like, oh, I know I'm behind. Like, I feel so behind now. But I mean, other than that, it was a pretty solid seed, I think. It felt somewhat linear up until like those last few items, and Hammer and Kane really just the only bad locations, I thought.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. As somebody who watched it unfold. Yeah. Well, if you guys enjoyed the race, be sure to give both LTigre and SDiezal a follow. They put on a great race for us. Let's see here. Thank you to our tracker Sinhe doing the thing where you track the items, making sure we know all the information so we don't look like fools. At least through no fault of them. And of course, thank you to Vitasia for co-commenting with me. I had a fun time commenting this very nice seed with you.
That was an absolute blast. All the same to you, sir.
Yeah, and of course, thank you to our streamer and Aileen for making sure we could cast this for you. Very much appreciated. If you guys want to see more, make sure you give all the speed gaming channels a follow. 1 through 6, I believe, and ALTTPR Randomizer 1 through 4. That's 6 now. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. Yeah, I think we're up to 6 right now.
Okay. So follow all those. Well, that's where all of our tournament races will be going, and we do still have another week of Swiss. This week is going to be two weeks long, so we won't get that right away, but won't be that long. And then we'll have, of course, the bracket stages, which I'm sure many people are looking forward to. So yeah, make sure you don't miss any of it. And thank you all for watching. And I hope you guys have a great afternoon.
Have a great one, guys.